Hello, this is Bill Zoller from the Wellness Warriors Ministry, and today we're going to be talking about a topic of interest to everybody, and that has to do with bone health, and specifically we're going to discuss the issue of osteoporosis, this bone thinning disease. I'll be discussing several related topics, including some information about calcium, about phytates, about protein, vitamin D, about diet, about exercise, and a couple of research articles also. The National Osteoporosis Foundation estimates that 50% of women and 25% of men over the age of 50 will have osteoporosis-related fractures during their lifetime. 20% of seniors who suffer from a fracture from osteoporosis will die within 1 year. Pretty concerning statistic. Bone health is incredibly complicated. It involves many nutrients like calcium, protein, phosphorus, vitamin D, vitamin K, sodium, and it also involves some other primary factors like exercise. There are 17 different nutrients that are involved with bone health and that the bones need. Fortunately, the best protection against osteoporosis is getting adequate physical exercise. Bones are dynamic organs that continually dissolve and reform. As we increase stress on our bones, they respond by growing bigger and stronger. In contrast, if we don't use our bones, they will weaken and shrink from the lack of use. Let me say a few things about calcium. The regular consumption of dairy products, which most Americans believe should be the primary source of calcium, the regular consumption of dairy products and meat products, animal-based foods, leads to the loss of calcium in the urine. As calcium is released from the bones to neutralize the acid load from these animal-based foods, the bones are weakened. And you have what we call a negative calcium balance. So we believe that this consumption of these animal foods, especially dairy, is a primary factor in the development of osteoporosis. It is well known that plant-based foods are superior sources of dietary calcium, plant-based foods. The best foods for bone health are fruits and vegetables. This includes green vegetables, soy foods like tofu, beans and other legumes, sesame seeds, and even oranges. All green vegetables are high in calcium. Researchers have documented that people consuming the most fruits and vegetables have denser bones. These foods have plentiful sources of other nutrients also, like potassium, magnesium, and other nutrients that are important for bone health. And here's a primary issue. The plant-based foods are alkaline in pH as opposed to animal foods being more acidic. The exception to that is that beans and whole grains are very slightly acidic, but not much. And here's a very interesting point. Americans have the highest calcium intake in the world, and we also have one of the highest hip fracture rates in the world. The standard American diet causes much of the consumed calcium to be lost in the urine. Excess salt, caffeine, sugar, and animal products leach calcium out of the bones and promote urinary calcium loss. A couple of comments now about vitamin D. We all need to be sure that we get outside and get enough sunshine. This is where vitamin D is created. If it's not possible, we may need to take a vitamin D supplement in order to not be vitamin D deficient. Many studies have shown that most Americans are quite deficient in their vitamin D levels, and that it is a predisposing factor in the development of osteoporosis, as well as other diseases like heart disease and cancer and autoimmune disorders. Vitamin D increases calcium absorption in the small intestine, and it decreases calcium excretion in the urine and prompts calcium absorption from the bones. The optimal level of vitamin D appears to be between 35 and 50 nanograms per milliliter. Almost 80% of Americans are below this level, so it would be important for everyone to periodically have their doctor check their vitamin D levels. Taking a vitamin D supplement may be our best choice for establishing and maintaining optimal vitamin D levels. Ideally, you may be able to find a multiple vitamin that contains about 2,000 international units of vitamin D3 as cholecalciferol. Now, without consuming any dairy products and or other animal foods, where can you get your calcium? Well, first of all, you should consume about 500 to 525 milligrams of calcium every day, and we recommend that come from whole plant foods. Here are some foods that are high, some plant foods that are high in calcium. A teaspoon of sesame seeds contains 88 milligrams. 1/2 cup of soybeans contains 258 milligrams of calcium. 1/2 cup of white beans contains 242 milligrams. 1 cup of collard greens, 178 milligrams. 1/2 cup of navy beans, 153 milligrams. 1/2 cup of spinach, 142 milligrams. 1 cup of kale, 179 milligrams. So you get the idea here that these green plant foods are very plentiful in calcium. So all whole plant foods have some calcium. Certain low oxalate greens have a significantly higher proportion of calcium that is absorbable. This includes kale, mustard greens, turnip greens, bok choy, and broccoli, to name a few. Also, we want to mention in terms of fruits and vegetables, they provide vitamin C, which builds collagen, which forms the basic network of tissues within our bones. Basically, if all of your calories are coming from whole plant foods, including fruits, vegetables, beans, and other vegetables, you don't need to think twice about calcium. You'll be getting plenty of it. Also, many non-dairy milks are high in fortified calcium. Just read the food label, and it will tell you. I know specifically I drink soy milk and almond milk only, and the ones that I drink are fortified with calcium. Let's talk a little bit about protein. Americans get 6 to 10 times as much protein as they need. They get 6 to 10 times more protein than they need. Excess protein overworks the liver and kidneys, causing them to become enlarged and injured. This is one of the major reasons that we have many elderly people with serious kidney damage. Excess protein causes kidneys to pull much of the calcium from the body, causing bones to weaken and kidney stones to form. Before I move on, I wanted to mention that some people get concerned about eating plants and that they're not going to get enough nutrients, specifically protein. Be aware that elephants, horses, and hippopotamuses all have very strong, huge bone structure, and they're all plant-based eaters. I wanted to mention a couple of research studies. In a 2013 article in the journal Osteoporosis International, they examined the relationship between consuming fruits and vegetables and the risk of hip fractures in 646 matched pairs of subjects. And this is a Chinese study. They found that the greater the consumption of fruits and vegetables in men and vegetables in women may decrease the risk of osteoporosis and hip fractures. I wanted to mention something about phytates. These are antioxidant compounds found in grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds. The chief concern about phytates historically has been that they may lower the absorption of certain dietary minerals, including iron, zinc, manganese, and to a lesser extent calcium. But this article in the European Journal of Nutrition found that really the opposite is true. They found that the concern about phytates and bone health arose back in 1949 in some experiments conducted on puppies. And what they found is that indeed these foods do not compromise bone health at all. Those people that consumed more high phytate containing foods had stronger bones, as measured in the heel, the spine, and the hip. The researchers conclude that dietary phytate consumption had a protective effect against osteoporosis, and that low phytate consumption should be considered an osteoporosis risk. I wanted to make some summary comments just briefly. First of all, get your calcium from a diverse diet of plant foods. Secondly, exercise regularly. Thirdly, animal-based diets compromise bone health. Next, dairy products pose a risk to your bone health. Next, get enough sunshine. And finally, assure that your vitamin D levels are adequate. If you'd like more information on osteoporosis, on our website, we have an article under the disease prevention topic area. We have an article on osteoporosis. You might want to take a look at that. Stay with us, stay in touch with us on our website, which is mywellnesswarriors.com. Our Facebook page is William Zahler, Zahler, and our email is wazahler@gmail.com. Thank you for being with us.